Please give this video a like and subscribe! Hey, I'm hungry. Will you feed me? Please, I'm starving.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame, what no one is saying about Epstein, where we're going to be looking at a couple of things. One is a Medium article, which I have here for your edification. And it's related. Yes, there's a picture of Woody Allen and Soon-Yi, I think her name is, or whatever. Soon-Yi. Sorry, I don't mean to butcher the name. But there's also a Bryony Claire, a couple of Bryony Claire videos, one of which is specifically about the Epstein thing. And we're going to try to, let's say, shine a light on aspects that people seem to be missing. So I guess I'll let Allison... Overlooking, yeah. No, I mean,
or deliberately obscuring,
obviously.
Shall we say? Yeah. All right. So at any point, essentially we'll go through some thoughts on the Epstein files. I haven't read them. I don't think Brian has read them. I don't think anybody's read them because there's so many of them. We'll have some conversation about not necessarily specifically on what is in that, but the response to this situation. And then after that, we might have time to go through the spectrum of misogyny, which is always fun. Right, we'll look at Bryony Claire's where we, which is what I'm really curious about, where we lie on the spectrum of misogyny, and you can follow at home and discover where you lie on the spectrum of misogyny. So stay tuned for that at the end. A little bit of more light content after the serious stuff. And if you want to send a message at any time throughout the show, do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way for you to send us whatever funds you want to send us, and the best way for you to send a comment to us because it does not go through YouTube's comment enhancement system. And it also doesn't disappear into their interface where sometimes it can never be retrieved for whatever reason. So that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And when I have the monthly fundraiser available, it will be at feedthebadger.com/support. So look for that there. And again, if you want to join us in our community, it's badgernation.online. All right. So what do you want to start with? The article?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the article is, it's kind of long. It's not that long. It's actually not that long. But I'm not sure. I guess the first thing we should do is establish some context. So, the Epstein files, everybody's got an opinion on it. They're all making claims, and I mean, like, even we talk about it on the news show sometimes, but the truth is that there's so much data, no one could possibly have as many conclusions drawn as there are, because you'd have to go through millions and millions of pages. And if you can go to the FBI website, I think it's the FBI website, and just search a term and it'll show you where it shows up. But the truth is, it's basically every single email, every single document, everything, which means it could be anything, right? It doesn't have to be related to specifically all the stuff that people think are, damning, right? So this is important because if there's a name in there, then people will decide based on their own internal bias whether that is a condemnation or not. And this is extremely dangerous because it can be weaponized, and it has been, right? And I'm not even, it doesn't matter who against, it just is. It's just this thing that's almost like this radioactive thing that if anyone is in it in any capacity, just no matter what the context, it becomes a talking point. And that's one thing I don't want to contribute to, which I think I've been very consistent on, even going back to, like when we talked about the Me Too movement, right? So like the Me Too movement, there are people who were accused and people are like, well, they were accused and they must have done something. And this is the problem. Even if there are hundreds of women that accuse somebody, that doesn't mean anything, because that women collude to like destroy people's reputations all the time. In fact, I just covered an article put out by it was like an entertainment website, like an entertainment news site, and they talked about how Paramount is hiring back a bunch of dudes that got Me Too'd. What happened?
I sent you a message. I said you're drifting.
I see.
Yeah.
They're talking to some, like, essentially Paramount is buying Warner Brothers, and they're trying to like salvage the film industry, at least on their end, and get some wins. And they're basically hiring back people like Johnny Depp, who had their lives ruined by false allegations. And they're already writing pieces saying, well, how come you're giving these men with troubled pasts jobs? So like my point with that is that this feeds into a narrative of like this, like basically condemning people, even if there is no police reports, even if there's no real evidence, instead of simply taking the time to be like, let's wait and see where this goes. And yeah, you may not have faith in the system or whatever, but there's really nothing else you can do except take a wait and see stance on it. And I think that's important, because today we're going to see, for one, this article is I haven't read it yet, but based on what I've seen, I think I know where it's going. I'm not going to say much to it, except that I remember when I think it was like before the Epstein files thing happened, it was like sort of like during the Me Too movement, like at its peak, and they were talking about Woody Allen and some allegations that were made against him by Soon-Yi. And I remember Janice Fiamengo did a stream with someone, and she was making the case that it's not that he's innocent, but rather that it's not as simple as people think it is, right? That there was more going on there than what everyone believes, based on, again, we have these assumptions. And when you consider that we tend to assume men are guilty, then it's something that we have to be aware of, we have to be careful about, So that's basically what I'm getting at, is that when you look at this, please try not to have an emotional attachment to the material, and let's look at this as dispassionately and objectively as possible, and try to introduce like perspectives that may exist, that may not be something that people have considered. So this Woody Allen thing is one side of that. And then on the other side of that, we have like the video Bryony Claire made about Epstein, which is actually, some of the claims she makes in that video are absolutely astonishing. But yeah, anyway.
Astonishing. I look forward to being astonished. Maybe looking forward is the wrong term. Well, what I want to bring to this is just looking at the response and what people are focusing on, and the dynamic between this, basically a bunch of elite men and women who engaged in sexual abuse of minors. And in Hollywood, for example, we've known for years that this includes boys, right? So these are elite men and women who conspired to sexually abuse minors. Now, considering the geometry and the involvement of women, I would be shocked if there were not also boys involved in this.
There absolutely are boys.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. Right. I mean, no one talks about it because I think that talking about male victims makes the whole thing less radioactive, which is why I'm saying it's like a radioactive issue.
That is sort of a disturbing thing, isn't it?
It's true, though. It's true. Like, they won't, like, there's absolutely male victims and female perpetrators. I mean, it's shocking that everyone talks about Epstein and they act like Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't exist. She was literally like the madam. She was the number 2. And she's still alive too. Like that, she's still around. So like, it's not even, like, it's like we just forgot she was involved. right? At the highest level. So
we have that tendency towards removing male victims. Now, I personally don't have confirmation that there were boys involved in this. I'm saying from first principles, I would be shocked if there weren't. Because when women get involved in stuff like this, women tend to abuse both boys and girls. So, I mean, I know that there is already a history of these kind of elite people abusing boys. So I'd be surprised if this was the case, that this was just purely girls. And I would not be surprised if they are in fact suppressing evidence that boys were involved, simply because it, as Brian was saying, it muddies the narrative, just like recognizing how high up and involved women were in the predatory behavior also muddles the narrative, which is, so there's a few points that I would want to bring. One, where are the boys? And even in the overall conversation, because they don't just say, well, this is the Epstein files and all the girls. They also are saying that this essentially defines how there's institutional abuse of children. So it's men abusing girls, which is false. So they're using this case to make the further case of a particular narrative about institutional sexual abuse of children. And as long-term watchers will know that we have the statistics that this is false, that there is institutional abuse of boys in juvenile detention facilities. There is abuse of boys in, well, just regular
in public schools. It's like 17% of children. And when you think about, I know the way it was worded is that they're, children abused by staff, at which they kind of like make it non-gendered or non-sex, like, gender language. But if you consider that most people who work in schools are women, then it's probably the case that, a large number, if not a majority of the victims are boys. But again, they say children because they want women included in that. They want girls included in that. And they say staff because they want men to be included in that. And I'm not saying it never happens that way, but if you look at it, it would probably like follow that at least in public schools, it's a majority of female perpetrators and a majority of male victims.
There's no actual functional difference in a lot of ways between a public school and a juvenile detention facility. The main difference is, for whatever reason, we briefly started to look at sexual abuse in schools, and then it got shut down. Like, I think there's one from like the 2010 or something. And then we just suddenly just stopped looking for some reason. Like the people who you would think would be interested in finding out those numbers just were like, I got somewhere else to be. And
female victims are just a lot, like, it's a lot more, I don't know, satisfying to our
but what I'm saying is that there's a particular pattern to what they're willing to look at. And again, suddenly they just lost interest in sexual abuse in schools K to 12, just completely. And so we don't have any actual stats. We have a smaller study that looked only at and only captured girls having and I don't want to say relationships. There was a coercion, of course, because of the power differential, but the girls themselves did not describe it as unwanted. So I don't want to say that that's not coercive, but I do want to report accurately on how they characterized the experience. And then the real issue with these studies is it captured no sexual abuse of boys. So if you actually projected from these studies, and it's a smaller study, it's decades ago, if you projected from that one study, there would be no abused boys. And we know that that's not the case. So you have to look at that and say, okay, something's going on with that study. And then they never repeated it. Like you would think there would be an investment in finding out about the sexual abuse of children in K to 12. But for some reason, there's no real study. The only studies that I've seen are actually, they're focused on male victims, and they do show a fairly high rate of sexual abuse among male victims, and some studies that show it among female victims, but no overall like institutional study like you see with juvenile detention facilities. And again, there's no structural reason why K through 12 should be different than juvenile detention facilities. I mean, it's more coercive environment in a juvenile detention facility, but at the same time, you still have the potential for coercion in K to 12. So if you have women who are predators, they're going to be drawn to that occupation, and they're going to be drawn to the power differential. They're going to be drawn to the fact that they can identify vulnerable boys to exploit. And they're going to be drawn to K through 12 as well as juvenile detention facilities. And we know for a fact that they're in juvenile detention facilities, and nobody's doing anything about it because nobody cares. But the overall point I'm trying to make is that there's not just the conversation about the list itself. There is a meta conversation that this list proves that institutional sexual abuse of children just goes one way, men to girls. And that conversation requires ignoring the contribution, if we want to call it that, the behavior, the situation of the women involved in this as predators, and it ignores male victims that, even if they don't exist in this context, they sure as hell exist in other institutional contexts being abused. So that narrative that they're spinning is wrong. And the second thing and this is part of it, that article is part of it, is not only are they rendering male victims invisible, okay, even if Epstein 100% female victims, to follow from that the pattern is false. And I've seen that narrative starting. But the other narrative is the women who were involved were actually groomed, allegedly. And even though they were victims,
they were made into monsters. Right?
They were made into monsters. Yes. This is Ghislaine Maxwell was made into a monster, codependency with,
she totally claimed that too. I think it was like one of her first defenses. Yeah.
With Epstein. But so we're groping towards seeing the women involved in this as victims themselves. All right. And it particularly in terms of Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, if you're going to say that she's acting out a pattern of abuse, can't you also say that about Epstein? Like he lived in these circles. Maybe he was traded around as a kid or something. You know, these are the questions. You can equally say that about him as her, but we don't. And why is that? Because we want to make this pattern match to the idea that men are strictly responsible and their victims are strictly girls, which brings me to my third point that I wanted to bring up, which is you'll notice how these men, Epstein less than, for example, Weinstein, operated within the feminist superstructure, like the liberal superstructure. Like Weinstein had all kinds of like he actually, I believe, said he was a feminist, and he
absolutely was. He championed all those sort of like lefty liberal causes. That was like a big and look, the women all loved him until it wasn't useful anymore. Like all of I'm talking about the adults. You know, and that's the thing about Weinstein, why, you know, there's a pretty good chance he's going to beat the charges in the long run or get an appeal. I think he's working on it, is because most of the women, if not all, were adults, and they consented to this stuff because they wanted to be famous, and he made him an offer. Now, I don't think it's moral, but it wasn't illegal, and it wasn't what they claimed it was. So yeah, but he was totally a champion of progressivism. Absolutely. He was in Hollywood. Yeah. It's Hollywood. Like that's what it is. So.
Yeah, but they were within these institutions, sort of being shielded by these institutions. And let me see if I can find the information specific to that. Okay. Weinstein wrapped himself in progressive and feminist adjacent causes, backing films with feminist themes, donating to democratic and women's causes, appearing at events framed around women's rights, and was defended for years by explicitly feminist celebrities and institutions. And Epstein was not quite as overt. He has philanthropy ties, funding institutions, and working through progressive branded networks. But he didn't actually call himself a feminist. And I don't think he championed women's rights. So he was just sort of embedded in the progressive networks. But what I wanted to point out is that these networks provide cover for men who are moral voids, who replace actual principled ethical action with performance of virtue, right? And the other thing that's happening here is not only did the feminist network provide cover for Weinstein for years, and, you know, progressive adjacent networks provided cover for Epstein. He moved in those circles. Not only did that happen, but now feminists are looking at this situation and they are abstracting responsibility off of the male and female elites who engage in this kind of institutional child sexual abuse. They're abstracting the culpability away from that group and putting it onto men as a group, which is actually providing cover for this behavior, and the men and the women, but mostly the men who engage in it, because women get cover from other things, not just feminism. All right. So feminism is the handmaiden for this kind of atrocious behavior. And they only do anything, like they only start to say anything when it's uncovered, usually by, well, almost invariably by the male justice system. And I'm saying that the justice system is masculine because it is something that is constructed by men, primarily staffed by men. The entire urge around justice is masculine. And we know that because women don't seem to have the same relationship to punishment as men do. So, for example, if somebody who is innocent is punished, men will not like that. But if someone who's guilty is punished, they will like that.
Yeah, there was a study on that.
Yeah, but women just, they don't want anybody punished.
They dislike punishment regardless of whether or not it's deserving.
That's the basis of the justice system. Men understand that punishment needs to happen, and they find it probably somatically satisfying to punish the guilty. Where do you think the justice system comes from? Where do you think the thing that finds these people and punishes them comes from? So we have a feminist institution that's running cover for these despicable human beings. And yes, they are so-called elite. They are incredibly rich. They don't exist in the same level of culpability as we do. And they derive full benefit from feminist covering them, from feminist abstracting their responsibility from these groups to men in general, which means it just dissipates because you can't punish men in general for what Epstein did or what Ghislaine Maxwell did, which is even more ridiculous. Like it just basically means that nobody gets punished. Well, I mean, yes, they do, because the male justice system is operating on this issue, just like it did with the woman in France, whose name I'm escaping, like the woman who had her husband drugged her and had men have sex with her while she was drugged. Well, that was found out because a bunch of male French policemen noticed it. When she was in a position where she was losing days of time in a week, they were actually more aware of her safety than she was. And they started to investigate it. And actual arrests resulted. Well, that's probably the same situation here. The male justice system noticed this shit happening and did something about it. But the feminist handmaiden system was caping for it for years and only did something when the male justice system said, hey, this looks sick, and started to poke in and start making arrests. And then the feminist handmaiden system came out and started abstracting responsibility off of the elites who engaged in the activity onto men, the very men who stopped it. Like, that is the situation. That's what's happening. And I'm seeing this everywhere, not just with the Epstein files. We can go away from sexual abuse. I'm seeing it in financial markets, that feminists are running cover for men who are rapacious, openly engaging in theft, and creating systems where they are capitalizing their gains and socializing their losses and pushing it onto people who have no say in the stupid risks they're taking, right? And feminists are there too, caping for those men and saying, oh, wait, it's not these specific men that you could actually apply justice to. It's men in general. And what does that do? It neuters the process of men controlling these robber barons and Epsteins. That's what feminism is doing. It's like a vector for evil into our society. It's a handmaiden for the worst impulses in men. And I don't mean that as a condemnation of men. I'm just saying that there are impulses that, not normal men, but there are
bad men exist.
Bad men exist.
Yeah, just like bad women exist. Yeah.
And feminists cape for them. Invariably, whenever you see some horrific graft or like some disgusting appetite, you'll find feminists caping for it by saying, well, no, that's not you don't want to bring these specific men to justice. They're not the problem. It's all men. Oh, really? No, I think it's these specific men that are the problem, feminists. These specific men who other men are trying to bring to justice. They are the problem, not men in general. But you see that? Like they abstract the culpability off of these groups, put it on all men, and then reduce men's ability to actually control them, to actually control this evil. It's a sick fucking system. All right.
Should we get in?
Let's get into the actual.
You can start the article now. It's only been a half hour. Okay. So this is from medium.com and written by Jean Doe, I guess. I don't know. Soon-Yi Previn is horrifying in the Epstein files. And yes, she's still a victim. So this is Soon-Yi here. And
somebody's mentioning that Polanski was defended by, yes. And I'm not freaking surprised. Yeah. Because it's not about morality. It is about virtue signaling, power, and getting money. They also throw women who are domestically and sexually abused under the bus, you guys.
Yeah, and one of the boys that was sexually abused as well that people forget is he played Willis on what's the name of that show? Different Strokes. And I had his name in my head just a second ago, but it's gone now. But yeah, Gary Coleman was one of them as well, I believe. So, but this is a problem. A lot of boys were being, groomed and molested and such. But anyway, the headlines about Soon-Yi Previn have not been flattering lately, not that they ever were, with titles like Woody Allen's wife Soon-Yi Previn blasts #MeToo and Epstein files. Woody Allen's wife sent wild blasts. Yeah, apparently. I'll look at that in a second. Woody Allen's wife sent wild emails to Jeffrey Epstein supporting Anthony Weiner, and Woody Allen's wife's wild emails to Jeffrey Epstein revealed. Previn's worldview is being rightfully flamed. It has been revealed that she characterizes underage girls as predatory, paints the male predators who molest them as weak, and contends the men are the ones being taken advantage of. It is truly unequivocally revolting. She railed against the #MeToo movement for going too far and her brother for getting too much prestige after unearthing the miscarriage of justice against their molested sister, leaned on Epstein to get one of her daughters into college, and even said this about Anthony Weiner's underage victim. All right. So apparently, her problem with Soon-Yi is that she didn't like Me Too very much, and that she also, I guess, engaged in some kind of, corrupt and nepotistic behavior with the people she surrounded herself with, who are all like rich elites. So Todd Bridges, that's it. Yeah, it was on my mind and then it fell away. Todd Bridges. So anyway, that seems to be her great betrayal. Okay. So this is what she said, according to TMZ. I hate women who take advantage of guys, and she is definitely one of them. She knew exactly what she was doing and how vulnerable Weiner was, and she reeled him in like fish to bait, Previn said, of the 15-year-old victim. What is her excuse for being a despicable and disgusting person who preys on the weak? TMZ. This is stomach-churning victim blaming. I'm sorry, Allison, go ahead.
That's just freaking weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is. It's and honestly, this woman does sound relatively despicable. I'm agreeing with this person so far. Not that, of course, this is going to land on something very ideological in the end. But yeah, she sounds like a despicable person. Shock. Despicable people say despicable things.
Well, the thing is, though, I think that what shocks the author more than anything is that Soon-Yi was supposed to be seen as a perpetual innocent victim of Woody Allen. So when it turns out, and she's not like the girl she was when we knew about that. She's like, you know, an older woman now, like pretty, probably like well into middle age, if not like getting into her senior years soon. And yet the author of this still sees the little girl. So she's like shocked that she could have like, you know, views or opinions that are despicable because there was this idea, this like she had this halo. And now it's like, oh, wait, she's a real person that could have, you know, views that I don't agree with. Like, I don't know. Like that's, I think that's the more shocking thing because remember, like people like this, like Soon-Yi, they become like, they're not real people in the eyes of like people who don't know them, but they just know them from headlines and tabloids and stuff. So in their mind, she is only a victim of Woody Allen. That's the only capacity she exists in. So when it turns out that she's a whole person and that she might have opinions nobody likes, and you know, she also may be like shitty in her own way, and maybe like when she says that 15-year-old took advantage of Anthony Weiner, maybe she's saying something about herself in a way, because sometimes the stuff that annoys people is usually stuff that they do. It's like, it's like you know, you see somebody at work and you get mad at their attitude or their behavior or things that they do, and then you realize when you get older that that's because you do it. And so like it could be that I'm not trying to armchair, you know, like analyze this, but I'm just saying like there's a number of reasons why she could have these views, but this the writer of this article seems to be putting it into like a black and white thing, partly because she's shocked that this woman is a whole person and therefore could have her own views on things, and secondly that person.
A whole evil person.
Yeah, a whole evil person, right? Like exactly, you know.
Yeah, that's shocking to her. I hate to tell you, but this is the behavior of abusers towards boys too. And they're going to make this out like this is some kind of unique thing that people say just about girls. Yeah, they say it constantly about boys too. I had an exchange like a year ago over the Adolescent film on Twitter, where a feminist basically excused a female abuser of boys because, well, I watched the Adolescence film. There's no way an adult woman could possibly be in a position of power over a boy. I'm like, that's the same thing right there. This is not men versus women. It's predators versus everyone else.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So, this is stomach churning victim blaming. It is also exactly how someone in her position, having been groomed by a master manipulator like Woody Allen since high school, would have to think about life just to get through the day. See, so there is like, she is sort of intentionally making it look like Woody Allen is like, has superpowers and did this to her. It's sort of like the thrall that Harvey Weinstein has, because they can't imagine that women, even girls, could make these kinds of decisions at all, like on any level. But anyway,
and also this is exactly how someone in her position. You don't have to explain it that way, lady. I have heard how female sexual abusers justify their behavior, and they just towards boys and girls, and they justify it in exactly this kind of way. The child was responsible, very common. And she did what they don't need to be abused by Woody Allen to frame it that way. So the assumption here is that somehow if a female abuser frames the situation in terms of removing agency from herself and attributing it to the child she's abused, that is something that it could only have come about because Woody Allen groomed her. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
No. That doesn't follow. It could be entirely, this is her own behavior. Right? This is what she thinks because she's an abuser.
Yeah, she's telling on herself. Like somebody in the chat said, Rumble, Chris Babakin says, isn't Previn telling on herself and recognizing male vulnerability, Woody's vulnerability? It doesn't excuse the male or female behavior. And again, I'm not saying that that's right or that, you know, I'm not making a value judgment on that. I'm saying that, yeah, she might be saying something about herself in saying those things. Right?
Mm-hmm. So, well, she could be saying something about how she views vulnerable kids.
Yeah.
As predatory. She could be saying, as a predator, looking back and seeing herself as predatory, even though I don't think she was underage. But regardless, let's continue.
I mean, I don't really remember. I thought she was. Like, it was borderline or something. But anyway,
I think anything happened after she was an adult, but she's still married.
But I mean, it's still weird, you know. But
it is weird. Don't do it. Like, that's just functionally legal.
It's kind of like Hayden Panettiere, the actress that was on the show Heroes. She was like 17 or something, and then when she turned 18, she immediately started dating a guy on the show, and they like made it public. And it was like, okay, so you are waiting. Like, it's obvious that something was going on before. It's not like happy birthday, you want to go out like that. But that's not the way things go. But yeah, it's weird, but it's Hollywood. It's Hollywood, baby. Yeah. But anyway,
and it's also, I think, as far as I know, it's legal. I mean, it's
yes, like I said, it's I don't think it's moral, but it is legal, and it's but yeah, anyway, that's a really radioactive topic. But let's get into the article. So this is not me saying her words are any less reprehensible, or that Soon-Yi Previn is a laudable or even trustworthy person. Huh?
That's exactly what you're saying, you dumbass.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the thing I just said. You're removing culpability from her by attributing it to another source than the woman. Okay, let's keep going.
Or that Soon-Yi Previn is a laudable or even trustworthy person. She's clearly not, and her take on this situation, or any situation involving minor abuse or gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence. Do you see that?
Gender-based, yeah. Should simply not be trusted. And frankly, I'm concerned for her daughters, having been raised by a predator like Woody Allen and a grooming victim who was completely and totally identified with her abuser and clearly internalized a highly misogynistic worldview. So that's the problem. It's not the stuff that she said. It's that they have daughters, and for some reason she assumes that Woody Allen is interested in his own daughters. Which again, that's a stretch if you ask me. I think these are like, I don't know the man. I don't know what he's capable of. I know that he's like in his 80s or something, so probably not much. But it takes a lot. That's a stretch to like make these conclusions. But the purpose of it is that Woody Allen in this example is not a person that she is attacking. He is symbolic of men, period. So that's why she calls it gender-based violence. That's why she focuses on the daughters. That's why she says that Previn has clearly internalized a highly misogynistic worldview, because it's all about this man did this to this woman who is now doing this to the world and her own kids, but it's because of him. And ultimately he is symbolic of men everywhere, of patriarchy, whatever. So instead of just him being like a weirdo, potentially piece of shit.
Okay, so also this isn't misogyny. Like, this is the problem. This is a predator reporting on victims. Right? This isn't misogyny. This is an example of a predator with predatorial behavior.
Yep.
And again, you can find this behavior in women with no apparent male source. Like, I mean, probably everybody who has some kind of fundamental wound, unless I don't know, they're sociopaths, and they just there's or psychopaths or severe antisocial personality disorder, and there just aren't checks, and they suddenly get into a position where they can afford to engage in any of their appetites, and they aren't actually a result of abuse. I don't know. I couldn't say, but there are women, lots of them, who engage in sexually predatory behavior, particularly towards kids, who would say exactly the same thing, and were not groomed by Woody Allen or anyone, really. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
All right. That said, given what happened to her, nothing about Soon-Yi Previn's mentality surprises me. So now she's about to like make the case to defend her because of her, like she's going to assume she knows what this person went through. For those who have spared themselves the specifics, according to witnesses such as hotel staff who were around during Soon-Yi Previn's early sexual exploitation, Woody Allen started molesting her while she was still in high school. This is importantly years before both of them claimed things began. The doorman at Woody Allen's apartment, where Previn would regularly go during her high school lunch breaks, confirmed seeing her regularly come in her school uniform and even escorting her up. The building manager also testified to seeing her regularly come to Allen's apartment alone during high school. Cleaners at the same apartment confirmed finding used condoms, dirty sheets, and other evidence of the molestation after her visits. Some HBO show, Allen v. Farrow, episode 2, HBO. However, Allen's public story is that it all began when Previn was 21. The excuse, she was legal and even drinking age, has been made by plenty of Allen's defenders, as weak and as disgusting as those excuses are, and those flimsy excuses aren't even true. So she's setting up the narrative right now. Now, I don't want to get into the details, but it's interesting that she says while she was in high school without saying what her age was. And again, all of this appears to be hearsay stuff. Like, people said they saw this. I don't know that there's like a smoking gun here. So I don't know. I mean,
I don't want to get into this because
I know we're not supposed to like get too much into this, but like as someone who believes in due process and like, you know, the receipts, I feel like I'm expected to just accept that everything that she's claiming is true. And I'm just skeptical of all of it. Like I'm just skeptical. That's all. So all right, anyway. Allen admits to taking a regular interest in Soon-Yi Previn before college, taking her to games and out to dinner after school. During this time, Mia Farrow unwittingly encouraged a paternal relationship, knowing that Soon-Yi had never bonded with Andre Previn, who divorced Mia a year after her adoption. Even in 2015, well after Allen and Previn married, Allen would continue to describe his relationship with her as paternal, negating his claims that he was never a father figure to her. Apparently, he still is. And on top of being far, far too young to understand what a predator like Woody Allen was doing, and thus highly susceptible to grooming, Soon-Yi Previn was learning disabled. By her own account, she struggled to get through high school. She was an adopted kid, born in poverty, dragged halfway across the world, and disabled.
Learning disabled. I've never heard that before.
Maybe she had dyslexia or something.
Yeah, like learning disabled. Do you mean like what's the usual phrase for that?
Special needs? Special education?
Well, not if we have dyslexia. I mean, you could be incredibly intelligent and just have
I know. You could be.
Special needs, special education usually means something a bit different.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
learning disabled.
I don't know. She was Vietnamese or something, right? Is that right? I don't really remember. I'm gonna find out how old she is. Because I feel like we're infantilizing like an old ass lady.
Yeah, but again, the main thing is
she's like 50. She's like 55.
The main thing about this, when you look at this, is that you don't need like. So every time a predator describes a victim in this way, we have to abstract their guilt off because they were groomed. Does this apply to men as well as women? That's why I asked about the Epstein versus Maxwell thing, right? Like, does it apply to men too? Do we abstract their guilt away to whoever did this to them prior? Or do they retain guilt for their actions and their statements? And also, this is very sex. Like, this is only going to one sex. And I know why it's only going to one sex, because they want the entire establishment is abstracting the guilt away from the elite groups who engage in this onto men to reduce the ability to control and punish the elite groups that engage in it. It's basically shielding and caping. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How much longer is this article? Because I sort of want to get into.
Yeah, it looks like they're just going into her story. Should I skip that part?
Yeah, just go skip to the end. Let's find her conclusion.
All right. Let me see.
What's her?
Let me see. Learning disability. Blah blah blah. Okay. Here's where, because she's basically okay. Here we go. Which is why. So she basically says that Soon-Yi says, I'm not a retarded little underage flower who was raped, molested, and spoiled by some evil stepfather. Not by a long shot. Let's not get hysterical. So she's basically saying, I was not abused, molested, or groomed. So this is what Soon-Yi is saying. And of course, this is not work for the narrative. Like, this is going against it. So this is like the end here. These are like the last two paragraphs. Which is why Soon-Yi Previn consistently depresses me in every single interview she's given. She clearly cannot accept any degree of the reality of what's happened. And how can I even blame her? Who would want to admit the truth when this is the horrible reality of her life? You're the groomed prop wife of an internationally renowned pedophile and predator who raped your own sister and is so beloved and powerful that he not only got away with everything, but continued to be celebrated by all society while using you as an alibi. So it's like she's saying, how dare you not consider yourself a victim? You're obviously a victim. I know better than you do, right? Victims aren't saints. They're people, harmed, overpowered people. They shouldn't be held to heroic standards. And I do think coming to terms with such a reality would take a Herculean psychological effort. Not being a hero, not rising above, does not negate what was done, and not growing up to be Virginia Giuffre doesn't automatically make someone Ghislaine Maxwell. Hurt people has become a phrase that is used as a cudgel against survivors more than it has ever been used to create empathy among privileged people who will never be able to even slightly empathize with the plain survivors of this kind of abuse have. Not defying your groomer. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to jump in?
No.
Okay. Not defying your groomer, especially one this powerful, doesn't negate context and circumstances.
All of this is because she doesn't want to acknowledge that this is a potential female predator. That's it. That's all this is. Like, I'm going to summarize this. We don't really need to go any further. And it's because they want to maintain a narrative that abstracts guilt off of the people who are doing this in order to shield them and puts it on men in order to reduce the ability to hold these people accountable. Thank you, whoever you are.
Well, there's actually here it gets better towards the end here. So she's saying she's not a survivor. She will not get out. She is a forever victim. So she says this. She is a forever victim. And then she says, yes, Ghislaine is also a grooming victim. So Ghislaine Maxwell. So am I. So is Previn. But we are not all the same. Ghislaine didn't just dismiss other survivors and engage in victim blaming like Previn. She created new victims. She assaulted women. She trafficked women. She provided victims to Epstein in a bid for his love, which she would never get. She is a violent criminal and should be regarded as much. As such, sorry, yeah. More importantly, Maxwell had far more means to escape: wealth, power, social charm, connections, whiteness. Oh my God.
Which is masculinity, guys.
Yeah. She and Soon-Yi Previn will never be the same. We can all correctly reject Soon-Yi Previn's worldview, perspective, and discount her word and testimony. So let's just dismiss her.
So this is she said something I didn't like. Was the payload. This was the payload. It was all building up to excuse Ghislaine Maxwell, to move the victimhood towards Ghislaine Maxwell. That I think that was the payload. That paragraph on Ghislaine Maxwell, in which she made the direct comparison. Right, she's not the same, but she's still the same. Right, they're apparently groomed, even though Ghislaine was not groomed. Grooming is for children. She wasn't. Right, So these two women are the same. So they're buttressing the excusing Ghislaine Maxwell with this article, so that they can cleanly abstract the guilt onto all men, who are probably the people primarily responsible for bringing this travesty to justice. Oh, because they understand justice.
So and I know she's not going to even consider this possibility, and I might say something that might even upset people in the chat. But if her logic is correct, and she says that people like Soon-Yi and Ghislaine Maxwell, they abuse people because they themselves were abused, and there's a cycle, then couldn't you also consider the possibility that Woody Allen was groomed and molested as a child as well? Or that, and I mean, look, I don't know the truth. I'm just saying, what if it turned out that he had an aunt or an older woman and she sexually molested him or something when he was a child or a very young man, and it's not a wild theory. These things happen. And then that sort of distorted his view on sexuality going forward. And then he started to live these things out with other women in the future. Then wouldn't we then apply the same lot? But of course, because he's a man, that's generational trauma exists, but it only starts with the man that came before the woman. That's where it begins. That's the catalyst of generational trauma. It doesn't go before that. That came from nowhere. That was just in men from the get-go. You see that?
Yeah, I know. I see that. Yeah, and that is the ultimate thing, because it isn't about actually looking at a situation and dealing with it to try to reduce the harm. It is literally about creating a narrative that abstracts culpability off of the people who are engaging in the behavior. And yes, certain people in this context have been brought to justice, right? But there's a culture that is not being brought to justice. There's a whole bunch of people who are not being brought to justice, and feminists are abstracting culpability off of those people, both men and women, and onto men as a category, even though, again, men are primarily the reason why any one of these people is being brought to justice. So it's a lovely little cycle of fuck, or to say correctly, it is a fuck shit stack. Thank you, feminists. Thank you for this. And yeah, they only give the succor to women because they couldn't do this. They couldn't abstract culpability off of the people engaging in this to men if they recognize that women do it too. Then it goes back to personal choice. And then it goes right back onto the people making those personal choices. You see how that works? If it isn't men and something that an emergent property of men and toxic masculinity, patriarchy, whatever else, then it becomes a personal choice, which means the people making that personal choice are culpable. If it's men, they're no longer culpable. So they can continue to operate.
Yeah. And it is ultimately just to cover that up. So I got a super chow from Art Fours, who gives us $50. I think he just supported something. 50 and then 5. Our fundraiser's not up yet though, so I don't know where that 50 went. But thank you, Art Fours. Really appreciate it. I'll give you a sound anyways. So
come on.
All right. So he gives us that, and he says, "Eternal victim, wood chipper for all those fucks." Thank you, Art Fours. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm all for, let's just again follow the justice system, do everything properly, and don't gender anything. Don't do that. But of course, these people, they see the world this way. Is what I'm saying. We said this on the show many times. The likelihood that men who are in prison for sexual crimes, almost all of them have had sexual crimes done to them as children. So these people, these feminists, they don't really want to end rape culture. what they would call rape culture. They don't want to end that, because if they did, they'd have to look at where it comes from, but they don't. They presume it comes from men, like it's just in us, and then they act on that, and that's it. Like there is no context. Men don't have a history before the event. It's just they just are, and they did that, right? And of course, a lot of the time they didn't do anything. Women just felt unsafe or decided they did something after they had consensual sex, and then it becomes, a crime on top of that. So it's like they don't really want to solve the problem. They want the problem to continue because they get paid.
Yeah, they want the problem to continue, and they want to abstract culpability because, again, it is no longer about personal culpability if it's about men, right?
Yeah.
So it's no longer about bringing these fuckers to justice when it's about men as a group. You've just watered it all down into meaninglessness, and you've made it harder for men to police those boundaries. So it's just a fuck shit stack.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You want to do Bryony then?
Yeah, let's do Bryony. Maybe it'll be a relief.
So we're going to switch to Bryony Claire. I had to test the audio on this because
why is it that?
Yeah, it's working. Okay, good. All right. Okay. So
are we starting
this video? What?
We're starting right at the beginning, huh?
I have time codes, but the
all right.
I'm gonna play the intro first for the context.
I won't quail.
I want you to see how petty this is too. Bryony Claire makes the most shallow content that is about feminism. It really does speak to like the quality of her audience. So this is about Epstein is the man behind women's beauty standards.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. He's the mastermind behind women's insecurities.
Oh yeah. Children sexually assaulted, Bryony most affected.
Yeah. Yes, we are victims of this thanks to Richard Bier. He loves these women. He loves them. All right, so let's play the intro of this, and then I got some time codes.
Why is it that there are so many companies that are linked to this creep? The Limited 2, Justice, Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie & Fitch, Bath & Body Works, to name a few, were owned by Les Wexner. Peter Thomas Roth, Estee Lauder, and its subsequent brands.
Hey, Les Wexner, so some woman who knew Epstein owned those things, and suddenly they're connected to him?
Well, the thing is that, again, this is why I said at the front of this, at the top of the show, that there are millions of pages in the Epstein files, millions. And he was, or maybe is, as a financier, he was going around and going to parties and like fraternizing with people from all different kinds of industries. I mean, he was like, I don't know, he was a fixer, right? He was like the guy, he was a go-between. He was the guy you went to meet other people. And at the top of anything, there's going to be people like that. Now, again, because there's so many files, it doesn't mean that anytime you interacted with him, there was like some sketchy Lolita Island stuff going on. Probably a lot of it was just regular business dealings. And then he probably thought if they wanted that, like that black market access or whatever, he would give it to them, but you had to know. So it's like, even if he like hung out with all these people or met them or talked to them in emails, it doesn't mean anything, but she's just making the association. And because he was operating at this high a level, you could literally connect him, I bet, with any industry. Like people were claiming that he is responsible for microtransactions in video games because he was in correspondence with people from like big gaming companies like Electronic Arts and Activision and Blizzard. But that doesn't really mean much except that he gets around, right? It means that he talks to people. He could like have gone to like a meeting with the Pepsi company. That doesn't mean anything, but that stuff is a little bit too, let's say, like intellectually robust for Bryony Claire. She wants to just create associations and say this person was associated with him, therefore they're bad, right? Again, you don't know. Like you like I don't know what the extent of it is because there's too much data. It's like too much data.
Okay, so based on the published evidence, there doesn't seem to be any evidence that Wexner actually joined in on the sexual abuse.
Wexner, yeah.
Yeah, and also apparently he's alleged that Epstein embezzled from him. So
that's what I'm saying. But Bryony Claire doesn't know that. She just knows his name and Lex Wexner's name. They cross paths at one point. Obviously, Lex Wexner is a pedophile. This is why I'm saying we have to be very, very careful. These are very delicate matters that are extremely destructive if they're pointed at the wrong people. This is what I'm saying. So I think that very few people are willing and able to compartmentalize that, because they have associated anybody who has spoken to Epstein or taken a photo with him or done anything other than something that's actually condemnable, anything at all. They've just said, oh yeah, you're one of them, wood chipper for you, right? And this is not something you want to do. It's not something you want to do.
Lex Wexner, there is no evidence that he engaged in any kind of Epstein. So, okay, Bryony, what are you trying to say here? Okay, so Epstein was not involved. He was like a financial advisor to Les Wexner, and managed some of his properties and portfolio. And then suddenly Epstein is responsible for the beauty industry. Well, first of all, why would you make that connection? Like, why would you say this is the big thing we need to focus on here? Right? That Epstein's financial dealings with these people who also were part or owned businesses in the beauty industry.
Well, ultimately, she wants to attack the beauty ideal, and she's using this association to do it for female beauty standards. She's trying to attack female beauty standards.
Yeah, I said with those nails.
Yeah, with those nails, yes. Well, not for her, but for everyone else, obviously.
Oh, I see.
For other women, this is her way of competing.
Potato sacks for every other woman. Okay, all right, let's go.
Okay, let's play a little bit more of this.
Models that we saw on fashion runways and in magazines, some of whom didn't even make it past their 20s. Even Botox. Jeffrey Epstein is connected to so much of it. How do we reckon with the fact that the image that we grew up with so much stuff that we looked up to, was shaped by such a disgusting person? The reveal is that Jeffrey's tastes are not just his alone.
Okay.
So now we're going to learn that his tastes are men's tastes.
So now we're seeing the feminist abstraction happening. It's not just Jeffrey Epstein who's responsible, who's an individual who can be held responsible in a justice system. It's men. Because God knows abstracting his culpability onto all men is going to somehow make the world better by making it more difficult to bring people like this to justice. Okay, Bryony, let's hear it.
Remember, she said just a little while ago, she was trying to paint these girls, these women, as underage, but she said many of them were just in their 20s, which means they were at least 21. But she's not treating them like adults. She's presuming that because they were in their 20s, whatever that means, that could be anything. That could be 29. But the framing is important. This is the thing. These people, they don't operate in the world of truth. They operate in the world of optics. What does it look like? How does it make you feel? That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say whatever makes you feel the way I want you to feel. It's not based in truth, because they're hiding things in the things that they tell you when they say stuff like that. She was barely in her 20s. What does that mean? 24?
Yeah.
I don't what is, but no, that's gross. Don't you see? Remember Leonardo DiCaprio? He would date 25-year-old women. These people would get all up in a tizzy because he's in his 50s. So he's Leonardo DiCaprio. He can do that. Are you mad? Yeah, of course you are, because it's not you. This is intersexual competition ultimately. And yeah, 18 is legal in a lot of countries. Is 16, but the point is, She doesn't even say that. That's Art Force. You're hitting what I'm saying. You're picking up what I'm putting down. If they were underage, she would have said they were underage, but they were not. So instead, she had to suggest that there was still something wrong by saying, well, they were in their 20s. Barely in their 20s, she says. Barely in her 20s. What does that mean? 21? That's barely in your 20s, right? Like, it's just so manipulative and obvious. And I don't know why people don't see it for what it is. But anyway, yeah. Let's go to the first time code.
No, I want to finish this. I want to see what you said. I want to see the abstraction happen.
I have spoken about before. The ideal for women is girls. The fact that we still have well-meaning people stumble and say phrases like underage women when you never...
Okay, let's pause it there again. She says the ideal for women is girls. She's trying to say that men are pedophiles because women who look youthful are attractive to them. And beauty is, beauty products like makeup and stuff, they are there to make women look more neotenous, which is attractive to men. Therefore, men are pedophiles. That's what she's trying to suggest. That's why this is what feminists do. Like this is what they do all the time. When you like in Gamergate, again, Gamergate was one of the first to open this up, where they were like, we like, if you're into anime, and what do anime girls look like? Well, they have large eyes and they're neotenous. What does that mean? Well, they look young, they have healthy skin, etc. So that's attractive to men because men are attracted to fertility in women, which usually looks like youth. And so she's like, oh, you're a pedophile then. Even though that's natural, right? It doesn't mean anything, but she has to make this association. So she's using Jeffrey Epstein to make this claim about men at large. That's what the purpose of this is.
Abstracting culpability. Okay, I'm good. I've seen her do it.
All right.
Okay, it's just
go to the time code.
Epstein men.
Yep. Epstein is men.
Ghislaine Maxwell, men.
Yep.
Ghislaine Maxwell is like every man everywhere.
All right. So am I doing for sure?
Yeah.
I'm jumping to the first time code.
Yeah. Hopefully,
all right, very. So here she talks about what?
Hopefully, very far in because I want to get.
Yeah. So, I have one. Yeah, I have it spread out pretty good.
Okay.
All right. So this is she's talking. The context is, she's talking about women who are supposedly mistreated, in TV and media. So
TV hosts were towards women, girls, boys. Like it was really bad.
Oh, boys!
The messaging that girls got.
What?
She briefly mentions boys, and then the messaging that girls got. Okay, let's hear it.
Well, yeah, okay.
Constantly was that you had to feel insecure at all times. Peter Thomas Roth is a luxury skincare brand and he appears in the files. He was keeping abreast of scandals about the royal family in order to keep Jeffrey in the loop, sent Jeffrey gifts for the girls in 2017, and also was going over there in order to be able to show them how to use the products. People have been calling for a boycott, even though he himself hasn't been proven to be doing any illegal activity. None of the people named have been. It seemingly looks like he sort of knew what was going on. However,
seemingly looks like sort of knew. Okay, hold on a second. 933, yeah, so there's a little bit more.
He says he deeply regrets his time with Epstein, so yeah. The giant brand Estee Lauder is also in the Epstein files as well because of Ronald Lauder, alongside another one of Epstein's creepy friends, Leon Black. Two billionaires established Friends Ventures LLC under the supervision of Epstein and brokered a deal to share the art piece. And Lauder maintained contact with Epstein as late as 2017, where he was meant to be meeting up with him. And Epstein was emailing Peter Thomas.
Bryony, you need to learn what evidence is.
Yeah.
The guy was a financier. He's going to have connections to people with who don't have anything to do with his activities. Not that I defend billionaires very comfortably. Like you know what? Okay. Billionaires they're a class of people that is very questionable. Let's put it that way. And I'm not talking like, there are rich people, right? Like probably at about 50 million. And there are rich men who have built something with their own hands and have to deal with people, right? But once you get into the billionaire club, it's not because you've built something. It's because you are able to capitalize your gains and socialize your losses. So you are literally stealing from something. And that attitude of parasitism is going to, like, that willingness to exploit others is going to leak everywhere. So I'm not going to defend billionaires because I think a lot of them are scum. And again, I'm not talking about rich people. I'm not talking about men who build their own companies and have to deal with people. I'm talking about those guys who end up in the higher echelons and they answer to nobody and they steal from everybody. And they start to, or maybe they even started in the register of seeing everything in terms of personal appetite and exploitation. But there's no evidence, Bryony. You need it. There's no direct connection here.
Yeah.
And you probably should have one before you start conjecturizing about Epstein being responsible for the beauty industry because he touched the finances of guys who own beauty companies. And of course, this is the salient thing, right? You know, institutional sexual abuse of children, but skin products. Like, don't buy them. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're not going to die, Bryony, if you just wash the neoteny off your face, because I'm pretty sure you're not that neotenous without all of that product on your face, right? You're talking about, oh, wow, these men are pushing neoteny. What do you think your mascara and your blush and everything else you've got on your face is pushing? Like, without these men, Bryony, you'd have to look in the mirror and see what you actually look like. You wouldn't be able to construct a fantasy on your face. You'd have to live with reality. And then she's turning around and saying, oh, wow, do you really want to live in reality, Bryony? Do you think you can handle that? Okay, is that catty what I just said?
No, that's okay.
She's like going after the thing that allows her to live in the fantasy that she obviously wants.
Yeah,
anyway.
That's why I guess it's so easy for her to criticize it. She's just, taking things for granted as usual. All right.
Is about body hair, wrinkles, body size. Why do I feel like I should be compliant and polite and never make a fuss?
You're like, I'm just not going to say.
Wait, that escalated?
Yeah, she's talking about how like this is like something that is put on women, so their men's expectations, and they basically affect women's insecurities. And Epstein, that comes out of him because he knows or speaks to people in the beauty industry. So, all right, let's hear it again.
Also held by many men. I've been seeing people grapple with questions such as, do I actually like this, or do I like this because a creepy perv taught me that I should like this? Why do I have so many insecurities about body hair, wrinkles, body size? Why do I feel like I should be compliant and polite and never make a fuss?
Bryony, wash it off your face.
Yeah, live it.
Live it.
She's like, I'm in the system. I can't escape. What do you think about my nails and my pedicure?
This is the same thing I get into arguments with feminists. I'm like, well, do you have what's the plan for building femtopia? Right? How are we escaping men's world? Nothing. Right? Bryony, if you don't like it, live it. Live the alternative. Take the crap off your face. Okay.
There's 6 women that didn't actually call the cops. Okay.
Like, I'm just not going to say anything because that's what he told me to do.
What about the complicity of all of those at the top?
Do you see this woman says, I'm not going to say anything because that's what he told me to do? And there's no one says, well, why did you listen? Why didn't you say something? Even if you couldn't at the time because you were too young, why didn't you realize it and do something immediately instead of getting a spot on NBC so you can promote your Instagram or whatever?
Okay. Now, I'm going to set that aside. What is the solution to this, Bryony? if women are constantly in the thrall of men, what are your solutions? Like what how do we? Yeah, of course, but to who? If women are in the thrall to men, okay, all right, but bear with me. Women are in the thrall to men, and your solution is to complain to men. That doesn't get traction. It's just spinning. But here's okay. That's the solution, to complain to men, to get men to do stuff, apparently. And to, at the same time as your only solution is to throw yourself apparently on the mercy of men, you say that men have no mercy. But here's the other thing. What is a final solution to all of this? Right? You say that men keep women in their thrall. That men keep women in their thrall. Women cannot be free in a society where there are men, which is interesting coming from a woman who's in a relationship with a man. Are you in his thrall? How do you know, Bryony? How do you know what you're spouting isn't just thrall speak that's been projected into your head by a very, very clever and a clever patriarchal gambit? Right? Get the women's to constantly offload their agency so they never escape the trap of depending on men. Oh, goddamn. All right, let's hear what.
All right, there's another 30 seconds left, I think.
Already have an extended and uncensored version of this video. I am censoring some words because I don't want this video to get demonetized, because when that happens, the reach of the video goes down, and I want us to be able to have these important conversations, because there has been a lot of stuff which has happened which I think we really need to.
The important conversation. Okay, the important conversation is not institutional sexual abuse of children, but that somehow women are being forced to purchase beauty products. They're just like, they go into, I don't know, a makeup store, and the beauty products, they send out like brain waves to the women, and they're like, purchase me, Epstein make you. Like, that's what we need to focus. I can't even believe that she'd have the audacity to make this video at all. Like this.
It's gross. All right, let's go here.
Les Wexner ever think that someone like Jeffrey Epstein was behaving inappropriately when he was completely comfortable with this sort of behavior? It's hard to state how much of an impact Victoria's Secret angels really had.
Presenting reflecting on how men's Victoria's Secret. She's talking about Victoria's Secret and its leadership enabled inappropriate behavior and misogyny. That's what she's claiming, because he had an association with Epstein of some kind. So is Lex Wexner the Victoria's Secret guy? I don't know. I know the name, but I don't know what it's from. What?
So, and the fact that Lex Wexner says that Epstein embezzled a whole bunch from him, that doesn't matter. Like, no. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. Not only are women in Epstein's thrall, but apparently Epstein's financial clients are also in Epstein's thrall, and they're still in Epstein's. Like, here's the other thing: Epstein is now dead. Does his thrall continue to operate even after he's in the grave?
It lingers.
Perhaps
that's evidence he's not dead.
Oh my God! Yes. How does that work, Bryony? Is it just pooling out of his grave and going everywhere? Has the beauty industry fundamentally shifted since Epstein died? Right? Do you no longer get the beauty the products that you used to get when Epstein was alive, Bryony? Has any of that changed? Like, or are these men being controlled by Epstein from beyond the grave? And that's why nothing has changed. And not just that, not only are the men being who own these companies being controlled by Epstein from beyond the grave, the women who these companies serve, they give these products so that women can look young longer, right? They can look better than they actually are, which is, of course, a patriarchal ploy, right? A patriarchal ploy to do something awful to women. The women somehow are receiving the Epstein thrall through the products made by the men who are being controlled by Epstein beyond the grave. Why does anybody treat this, what she's doing, as anything but contemptible? Hamstring.
Yeah.
Like, this is on every level incoherent, brain killing, mental bullshit. Thank you, Richard.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, there's a little bit more in this one.
Standards. We also saw how the models were treated. They had to laugh off harassment all the time. This was stuff that taught us how we should be behaving too. The beauty standards in the 90s and the 2000s to the early 20s.
What if these models were harassed? What were they done? Was it done in public?
They were harassed.
Arms are weird.
Won't someone think of the multi-million-dollar models that worked at Victoria's Secret? Won't someone please think of those ladies? Not the children that are being molested on the island somewhere. No, not the spirit cook, children who was probably, I don't know, getting their blood drained and put into sausages. I don't know what they were doing, but just like the children. Wait, but what about the Victoria's Secret supermodels that were getting paid hand over fist and they experience harassment, which again, I don't see receipts for. I just see claims.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all just claims all the way down. All right, let's is there a concluding time code to this, or do we have to go through another 7 of them? Or
no, let me finish this one 20 seconds and then I'll jump to some more. Like I have 10, but I can jump to the ones that make
what is wrong with this woman's arms? Is this AI?
She's probably double jointed. No, I think that's a real woman. It does look a little weird though. She's like PS2 graphics.
It looks like she's like an X-Men with the power of like whip arm.
It really was about being as young and small and childlike as possible.
What did you have for breakfast?
I didn't eat breakfast. I'm gonna be in
really
lingerie.
Oh man, that guy sounds so straight.
What?
That's the patriarchy. That's the voice of the patriarchy right there.
Yep.
They weren't a size 2. They were mocked constantly on TV. One of my patrons was bringing up how much they saw the mistreatment towards Britney, and
this is somehow related to Epstein. Okay.
You need to expect.
It's beauty standards, Allison.
I've spoken about how creepy TV hosts were towards women, girls, boys. It was really bad. The messaging that girls got constantly was that you.
Yeah, but boys are okay. We already
You had to feel insecure at all times. That was the thing I was looking for. Go ahead.
And boys are just removed. She briefly mentions boys because you have to now, because of us. But then she just glosses over it to the insecurities that girls face. Okay. I hate to say it, but I find the sexual abuse of minors to be more important than your insecurities, Bryony, especially since I don't see any evidence that you're making an effort to overcome them. I mean, you're living with these horrible insecurities, but you seem very happy with them. Perfectly fine putting them on your face. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's how many more times?
This is a different thing where she talks about Epstein's attitudes with eugenics, controlling women's bodies, and how it ties to a broader right-wing male-dominated agenda. Even though Epstein was a progressive, we know that much. But go ahead. Let's go ahead.
Girls was also done by Epstein himself. Virginia spoke about this in her posthumous memoir. He was really fixated on making sure that they were all eating really healthy diets. He was big into eugenics and also creating a master race of children. The ranch was where he wanted to be able to have his harem of girls producing children for him. He was into doing this stuff before the Silicon Valley bros came around. And now today, all of the Silicon Valley bros.
Okay, so he's basically just got the standard psycho tool, the standard psycho what is it what is the standard kit that like a video character or like an RPG character race comes with? I don't know. I'm searching for him. Okay, I'm going off into the weeds. All right. He is
well,
he is a standard bad man. He is a bad man. They exist. So what?
Yeah, he's a he was a really high status man, which means he had access to women and he could have multiple partners.
Yes.
This is just gynocracy. Women created this in their own way. They contributed to this, and he just takes advantage of it. But Bryony doesn't like that. Same thing with she's trying to now connect Elon Musk to him because Elon Musk has lots of kids everywhere. He's for whatever reason he wants to spread his seed everywhere. But you know what? To me, that's just like your prerogative, bro. Like it's not my bag, but he can do it, and there's a lot of women lining up to do it. So I don't understand what the problem is. And this is the thing, like she always acts like women are not at all a part of this equation. Like they never say when Elon Musk went up to Ashley St. Clair and got her pregnant, he asked her, I guess, I presume he didn't roofie her with his seed. He basically was like, carry my baby. And she was like, yes, daddy. And she did it. And then, of course, she tried to get money out of him later. But I don't like, I mean, you can call it immoral if you want to, but based on what? Like, this is, again, it's not illegal. I don't know if it's evil. I think it's unethical in a way, but whatever. Like that, women are the ones that are saying yes to this, though.
The problem is,
so how do you argue with that?
She's removing women's right to make choices that she doesn't like, right? And it's because she doesn't, and that's the funny thing. It's like she wants to create this ultimate culpability for men.
And he can't, and none for women. Like women are literally asking to get babies by these rich men because they want the status, they want the benefits of that. And so she's like, no, that's not happening. They're doing something to the women. That's why she has to frame them as young, like to imply they're underage or innocent or unable to make choices, Did
Epstein have kids?
I mean, I don't know from what I heard, he was like, here, the funny thing is, Allison, I don't know. No, he does. He was trying to make a lot of babies from a lot of different women, supposedly. And I don't know if it was done through IVF or the old-fashioned way, maybe both. I know that Elon Musk was doing it through IVF as well, or basically he wasn't actually physically having sex with women, but it's a weird thing. I think it's only something billionaires come up with, I guess. But
yeah, they're fucking weird. Like billionaires are just, you cannot look at billionaires and conclude anything from these men. It's like these guys are fucked. But I'm weird. Looking at this, he doesn't have children. So even if he said, okay, I want a harem of, I don't know, I'm going to create Ubermensch from my seed. I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch, but whatever. He never got it.
But that's what she's suggesting. That's why she uses the word eugenics. Eugenics is, even though it's a relatively benign word that just defines something, when feminists use it, they're trying to make the correlation to Nazis. They're trying to do that, which is ironic because Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know if you guys know where the word Epstein comes from, but it's not German. It's not German.
But my point is, he says he wanted this. How come he never got it if he had so much power?
I don't know. I think he might have kids. I just don't know. I didn't.
No, I just checked. He probably doesn't.
Okay.
It's most likely that
maybe he couldn't get it going. Yeah.
No, what he couldn't get it. Apparently, he could sex traffic, but he could not create a harem of women who wanted to have his kids.
Concubines, right?
Concubines, yes. That never really worked out for him. But my point is, doesn't that suggest that his power was constrained? Or ultimately that he didn't want that? Like, I don't know. Maybe
the point is that he wanted to, I think. And yes, so from that we can we can condemn all men.
Yes. So Epstein wanted to have a harem of nubile women to have his children. I feel like this might be more, that the fantasy might be more common, but also not particularly awful, but he never got that despite having all this power, this transgressive power, and now men something.
Yeah. He wanted to live Tenchi Muyo.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make it real.
But now men something. All right, men. Yeah, right? Do you get it? She's saying men.
Yeah.
That's all she needs to say.
It's true.
Okay, let's keep
going. Let's do the rest of this.
Are saying the exact same stuff as Jeffrey Epstein, so that's why I'm always like side-eyeing them. Jeffrey didn't do drugs, drink, or smoke, but he cared so much about the way that someone looked. The right body was not overly muscular, but it was small though, especially for women. As this Vanity Fair piece shares, a friend of Maxwell said she used to joke about keeping herself rail thin because Epstein liked thin girls. This is a really disgusting joke, is a warning. She said, I do it the way Nazis did with Jews. The Auschwitz diet. I just don't eat. We still really hate Maxwell. Yeah.
Oh, we still really hate Maxwell. So, I mean, they're obviously joking.
Okay, so a Holocaust joke is beyond the pale, but you appropriating victimhood from sex-trafficked children is not, Bryony.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's like in I don't know, Oliver. I think this is the right one. Oliver Twist stealing his porridge or something. No, it's not for you. From starving Victorian children, Bryony goes back and steals their bread. That's mine. Is there no depths? Are there no depths that you would not plumb for victimhood, Bryony? Because here you are, attempting to seize it from sex-trafficked children, attempting to seize it for yourself from them.
Yeah. Well, no, there are not. All right, let's keep going. This is the next bit. Is she's going to talk about how men in leadership normalize abuse and disrespect towards women. So this is like the real, because she's getting to the end, so she really has to scare her audience.
Okay,
be the greatest country in the world, and we can't protect children, and these people don't stop doing it. We downplay it. We have a president that runs women through the mud, and you don't think that other generations are watching that, younger people, and saying, okay, well, if the president can say grab them by the why can't I?
Back to my question at the start of this video. Do I like this, or do I like this because a pervy creep told me to? I argue it can be both. All of us, whether we want to believe it or not, are shaped by the culture.
Oh, good Lord. Bryony, fuck off.
Let's have a conversation about having a conversation. I have a conclusion, but actually I'm not going to answer it because I'm going to say both. Why? Because I don't want to upset my audience by saying they shouldn't get beauty products or care about what they look like. But I also don't want to upset the part that doesn't like that. So I'm not going to say anything, and I've just wasted your time for half an hour, but I will blame men for this conundrum.
What is your solution, Bryony? You're all in the thrall of men, all in the thrall of Epstein's ghost, right? You're all women. They have no independent action ever. What's the solution? Is it continuing to complain? Is that a solution? How do you get out of your existential prison, Bryony? How do you get out of it? Do you just continue to whine? Because that's not getting out of your existential prison. I want to see movement towards getting yourself out of your existential prison before I recognize your assertion that it's so horrible. Because people who are motivated to get out of something often get out of them. And the problem here is I'm seeing that no feminist is making any movement to get out of the existential prison they're apparently in because they are all caught in the thrall of men. All of them. This woman is asking me to give up autonomy over my own mind. I want something in exchange for that, Bryony. No, actually, you know what? I'm never going to accept that deal but I want it sweetened beyond whatever this is. Right? I want to see, what are you willing to do? Okay, if I accept that men have this power over my brain that you say they do, I want to see evidence that you have some method to get out of it. Okay, and none of this is real. So there's no point of even entertaining it.
Yeah.
It's like, Teal Deer is right. This is Gnosticism. They're like, men are the demiurge. Good Lord. Okay.
All right, let's hear the rest of this.
This information, we could be part of helping each other or hurting and blaming each other. And I know which side I'd rather my audience members to be falling on. We see things that made us really happy as kids, things that we wanted to emulate, to own, to wear. Maybe we weren't able to do it at the time, and so people are doing it now. And that doesn't mean that you're a monster because of it. Did Epstein solely create this focus on childlike looks? No. That has existed for a very long time, sadly.
Yeah, since the beginning of humanity.
It's women. This is like this is why there's no, she can't offer a solution, because even if we thought it was a problem that needed fixing, which I don't think it is, they would have to ask women to change their preferences, which is why she's trying to like make this work, where she's like, well, you can have your makeup and your pink and your lingerie and all of the cute things and your accessories and your purses, but let's just like not attack each other over this, and realize that if you feel oppressed by this, that's men's fault. If you like it and feel empowering, well, that's feminism's fault. We did that. We made you that, right? She's trying to work these things out, but ultimately they don't want to solve the problem. They don't want to solve the problem because there isn't a problem, and they know that.
Okay, so this is where I'm at. All of this stuff is supposed to be horribly oppressive, but at the same time, women aren't fools for choosing it.
Yes.
See, so basically, it's just as bad as slavery, but women choosing the manacles is not, you can't judge them.
They're just matching bracelets at that point.
This is what I was trying to get at. Like it's absolute. So this is the worst thing that could ever happen to women, but don't judge them for choosing it.
All right, that's it basically.
I don't know what I am, but I'm not this. Okay.
Do you want to do do you want me to really quickly do the other thing?
Yes, just do the misogyny spectrum.
All right, we're gonna go to this other video by Bryony Claire. This one is about the Manosphere. Ultimately,
what? Also a Rick Richard request.
Yeah, it's also cursed. But okay, so I'll just give you the short and dirty of this one. So the basic short version of this is it is a video about the Manosphere and like unrealistic beauty standards for men, which sounds promising, but ultimately it's the fault of men. It is a toxic masculinity discussion. And the truth is, this is the thing that's really interesting about it, because I've actually thought about making a video about this topic myself. Young men are this looks maxing thing that you guys have probably seen going around. Alice, you know about the looks maxing thing that guys are doing? It's actually like they're doing damage to themselves because they're trying to look attractive to women.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the primary motive for this. Now, I don't think they should do that. Obviously, like they're doing stuff to make themselves taller, like breaking their thigh bones and their shin bones to get a few inches of height. They're, damaging their jawline to get their jaw square. You have these like really like crazy famous dudes like Clavicular like online that are judging men on their looks, but that they won't admit that this came out of what women were saying they wanted. And men are trying to respond to that, as they have always done throughout history. When women say this is what we're looking for, men try to become that thing. Mm-hmm. And what I think is that men should not do that, because women don't know what they want, and instead they should just do themselves and work with that. But they are unfortunately allowing women's preferences to affect their behavior, and they're engaging in harmful behavior to themselves. Like young guys are taking steroids and PEDs and other gear to like look muscular. And I'm talking like at a young age, it's going to be very bad for them. They're going to have heart problems and all this other stuff, but they're trying to attract women. And what she's doing in this video is saying women are not doing that and men are doing that to each other. Like men are encouraging this in other men. So she's blaming men, patriarchy, for men who are engaging in very risky self-harm associated behavior in order to look attractive to women.
Okay.
And women are straight up for that. They're like this clavicular guy who is a complete asshole. He has women all around him all the time. I wonder why. You know, but she's going to say, no, that's not what this is about. But what were you going to say, Allison?
So women's beauty ideals are the result of Epstein's ghost, right? And men's beauty ideals maybe also the result of Epstein's ghost.
Well, she doesn't mention Epstein in this video much.
But it would make more sense, don't you think? Like let's attribute it all to Epstein's ghost.
Well, Epstein's not exactly a Giga Chad, but I would say it's the fault of the Manosphere. That's what she's trying to say.
It's the Manosphere.
Yeah.
It's the Manosphere. Really? Did the Manosphere?
Yeah, it's the Manosphere.
Did the Manosphere create romance covers? Did they do that too, Bryony? Like, so she can't allow any culpability. So essentially, women's beauty ideals or the beauty industry is a result of Epstein's ghost, and it's the most horrible kind of oppression and slavery. But she won't condemn women for choosing it, because that would be bad. But here, the Manosphere is forcing men to look good, to look like heroes on the cover of romance novels. And it's the Manosphere doing that, right? Not women. Yeah. Not women. The Manosphere. Okay. Actually, these two are very, very complementary if you think about it.
Yeah, in a way.
All right.
So all right, let's jump to the one thing, okay?
The one thing.
So she goes through, again, all of it. Her content's all the same. I don't know why Richard sends videos, because it's always the same. At the end of the day, her message is the same. You know, it's all about how many, like, I'm going to blame patriarchy for something, and then I'm going to attach every single current male figure to the thing that I'm demonizing, so that the morons in my audience will associate my ridiculous claims about patriarchy to these men that they were told not to like, while also claiming that I'm not doing that to them, but the system is. Like, you know, when she says, do we like these things because we like them or because like some pervert telling us to like them? Yeah, you mean like yourself, right? So this is basically the latest version of, oh, here's, you know, like the Americans won the Olympic hockey game. And that was like a big deal for a while. And of course, she's upset by that for some reason, probably because it was America. She hates America. She just does. And it's because the orange man runs it right now. So basically everything associated with that has to be used as a tool to like get her audience angry, because that's what the goal of her video is. So like and this whole video is just that. It's like, oh, patriarchy is reinforced by incels, by the Manosphere, which is the same thing to her. And that means guys like Clavicular, these looks-maxing guys, which are not Manosphere guys, but whatever. We're just connecting everything to that at this point. And like Kash Patel of the FBI and Trump and ICE, all of that. ICE are incels. You guys know that? ICE are incel white supremacists that, by the way, are made up of a highly disproportionate number of, you know, Black and Latinos. But whatever, we're not going to bother ourselves with details. They're the enemy, so they're white supremacists.
Well, Latino white or ICE agents are the white people of ICE agents.
Yeah, they are the white people of ICE agents. So anyway, towards the end, she basically has a thing where she talks about what is it that men like, how do we know a good man? And she has a little chart, you might say.
Okay, so
yeah.
So how do we know? No, these women don't know what a good man is.
No.
What they know is is basically the performance of a psychopath or a man who's broken. That's it. That's what they select for.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did we go from the manosphere, male beauty ideal, men do it to themselves, to how do we find a good man? Like, I just, okay.
She's talking about the boys club. So like this becomes a thing about the rich boys club, which apparently the hockey players and, all these, the clavicular, I mean, he's like a pretty rich guy, I think. He's like a Nepo baby though. But I mean, whatever. Like, I mean, I don't care really, but it's all, and again, when these people talk about the manosphere, they focus on specific people because what they don't want is to actually talk to people in the men's space. They don't really want to talk to them, not the ones that actually have something to say. So they'll just talk to the ones or about the ones that are the easiest to, sort of present as something to use to condemn what we're talking about on this channel all the time. So they just use that. And I don't have a problem with those guys existing. I know some guys are like, we have to condemn. I don't really care. It's a waste of energy. They're going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter because they know that there's like good people doing good work in this area. And so their purpose of focusing on those other guys is to keep people from looking too close because they might find people like us. So that's the reason she does it. And nothing's going to change that. No amount of disavowing of people is going to change that. So because they want to control the narrative, but they are losing it. They're losing it. That's why they keep having to make documentaries and films and stuff about the manosphere. I know there's a documentary coming out this month, a couple of them actually, one on incels and one on the manosphere. I forget the guy's name, some English guy. And it's because they are in fact losing the narrative, and that's because they're upsetting, they're losing men. Men are walking away, they're not contributing, they're basically checking out, and they're like, what do we do? And they have no tools to deal with that. They have no tools. So
it's worse than that because the corruption, like when I say that feminists are abstracting culpability, there is so much corruption. And in the process of doing that, they are actually destroying the very foundation of our civilization. Like it is an absolute rat's nest. Oh, sorry. Let me use the metaphor again. It is a fuck shit stack. And, but I'm just finding it remarkable. She's talking about men's beauty ideal, and it still like lands back onto men. And if women really wanted to, like, I don't know, tell men that they don't, they're not interested in the, 6'5", blue-eyed finance guy, they could date the 5'8", nerd. They could give him a chance. Hey, then they would demonstrate that the beauty ideal is not basically destiny for men. But why don't you say that, Bryony? Like, why aren't you saying like, because the funny thing is are these 5'8" men like shoving women out of the way and being like, I gotta go break my shin bone so I can have an extra inch and juice so I have an 8-pack, and they're just pushing women out of the way who are like, but I love you the way you are.
Yeah, that's totally happening. Right?
Oh God, I'm just thinking back to that panel that we watched. Remember, all of those guys were tall and fit, and they were struggling.
Yep.
They were, like one of those guys was very fit, and all of them were struggling. And the one guy with the woman, she wasn't committing to him. She wasn't locking it down and they're paired with a bunch of dysregulated baboons. And I'm like looking at this and like, these guys are failing now. These are the new incels, are they? Like, I mean, I don't think any one of them was under 6 foot, right?
Well, they were certainly taller than the ladies. And, with girl math, 6 foot means taller than me.
Yeah.
Generally.
But they were all, like I said, they were all fit. They all demonstrated that they were willing to step up to a relationship. They all had their lives in order. Like they were working. They're ready to, provide for a family, to put a family first. And they're paired with a bunch of did the people who created that panel realize what they were doing, or is that really like just
No,
random?
they didn't realize what they were doing, I don't think.
So that is just a random subset of women now. It's just you just pluck them out randomly and you get 4 dysregulated baboons. Just how? Oh God! All right, but I'm just saying, if men like that are having trouble getting locked down in the dating industry, then whatever Bryony is saying about it's ridiculous, right? The standards are ridiculous, and of course she's not going to admit it. All right,
let's listen to her thing.
Behavior. This is follower behavior that we're seeing from everyone. So what can we actually do? Now, people like to often think about like good versus bad guys as
lady.
Binary,
did you say that? Did you just say that this is follower behavior in men?
She was talking about the alpha.
Yes, yeah,
like
I know. She said that the alpha sigma, whatever, is follower behavior in men. Probably it's or what is she actually saying? That men are following.
I'll just read the transcript.
Yeah, don't go back.
No, I'm not going to go back. I'm going to read it from the transcript. Okay. Cat Black has spoken about it in this video. Okay, Cat Black was that trans activist from back in the day. It gave a lot of young, angry, misogynistic men this sort of space to come together and talk about how much they hated women and how frustrated they were with women. And for a lot of people, that was the community that they felt they were missing. And that's kind of the sick part of it. The FBI was trying to hide documents that Trump was found in the Epstein files. Not true. They were the ones that put them out. So whatever. And I wonder why that could have been happening. But also, there are so many of his followers who do not care that he was in the files because the biggest thing to him is loyalty. Once again, this is the boys club on a global scale. This is the admiration for Daddy Trump, who is going to save everybody. Oh, we have to go through a bit of pain here. Trust me. But you'll get that candy bar at the end of the day if you do what I want you to. Once again, this is not leader behavior. This is follower behavior that we're seeing from everyone.
Okay, so this from the woman who's in the thrall of Epstein's ghost.
Yeah.
She's buying her face cream because Epstein's ghost is whispering in her ear or some shit. Okay, no, dismissible. Let's move on. Let's finish this time code.
So she's got this chart, right, that she's saying a lot of people think this is how we see it, where there's most men are good and there's only a small percentage of crazy, evil men. What I've learned that a lot of guys visualize our social environment like this is her chart, okay? Guess what? How shit's going to change. The reality. She's about to red pill her women.
Guys are good guys, and then there's just a few evil ones doing the bad things, when actually it's a much more gradated scale. And
let's look at this, but it's actually closer to this. So if you're on the end here, it says heroic men heroic men who will intervene. So these are the only good men. So it's actually an inversion, because look at the rest of these. Well-meaning men who underestimate the issue. That's a bad man, basically. Men who think predation is an unfortunate fact of life. Also a bad man. Men who think certain women deserve it but aren't active predators. Also bad. I mean, you're going to tell me that's not? Men who passively enjoy, consume, or encourage predation. Textbook predators we're all aware of. Monsters so cruel we can't even fathom them. So this is what she sees as the truth. Which means most men are shitbags, except for the ones that essentially are willing to throw their lives away to intervene. That's what it is.
Men, which is most men, right? Honestly,
no, she thinks it's just this much. No, it's just this.
Lady, do you really honestly think conscription is a thing that could have happened if men weren't willing to sacrifice for their society and make other men sacrifice for their society? Like, what a shitbag this human being is. Like, she is a shitbag. Like, there is no excuse for this. And again, this is abstracting. So instead of seeing evil as a personal choice that men and women make, and mostly men are bringing these evil people to justice, it's men who are the policemen who are doing this. And I'm not going to look at how many women are policemen. Look at the death rate in that occupation to see how much the sacrifice falls on men. Prosecutors, men. Jailers, men. Men will mostly intervene if they see a woman in distress They still do that, even though in many cases they're putting their own lives at risk for doing so. And I actually tell men, don't do it, especially when you're dealing with a couple that's engaging in violence in public, because you intervene, the woman grabs you while he stabs you. Just don't bother. Don't put your life in line for miscreants. But regardless, men still do that because it's the nature of the beast. And you, Bryony, wouldn't be existing in the world complaining to men about men if men weren't listening, and you knew that. So this is just meanness. This is just cruelty. This is just abuse. This is just shitbag behavior. Because literally, she says, well, women are in men's thrall, so I'm going to complain about it. Well, who are you complaining to, Bryony? If women have no power even over their own minds. That's right. You're complaining to men, and you're expecting them to listen. Well, how is that compatible with believing that they're all basically monsters? The answer is it's not. The answer is this is mouth noises and memes intended to be cruel and shame men into doing what she wants. This is emotional abuse right here, what she's showing. It's its own counter argument. Because if men were really all basically evil, they wouldn't respond to her emotional abuse. It wouldn't be such a useful strategy for women that I see an entire movement bases its entire political apparatus on it. Like, think about that. An entire movement of women bases its political apparatus on the fact that when they say, hey, men, you don't care about women, what do men do? They immediately feel like they have to demonstrate that they do by giving that movement power and clout. It is its own counter argument. And it's despicable. More fuck shit stack. And no, yes, it's horrible that I have to engage with this right? I have to engage with it. That's horrible. But then again, at least somewhere, somebody is saying that this is wrong. This behavior is wrong. Right? This is cruel. And not only is it cruel, it's a lie. Because if she genuinely believed men were the problem, she wouldn't be appealing to them for the solution. And neither would her audience. The truth is that these women know that men are their solution. That's why their entire strategy for existing in the world is to complain to men. And why I say, okay, you want to say men are so bad? Show me the receipts. Show me how you're building us out of femtopia. Show me how we're escaping the existential state prison that men's thrall has put us in. We're all enthralled to Jeffrey Epstein's ghost, Bryony. Tell me how that ends. Tell me. Because all I see is someone who insists that men are bad and then in the next breath demands they do something about it in order to prove they're not. Do you think bad men actually give a crap? That's right, Mia. That's right.
Yep.
Ugh. All right.
The thing I can encourage you on the most is challenging when you find yourself kind of in the more colorful end of the spectrum as opposed to the leader end of the spectrum. I'm not going to say heroic here. I'm going to put this as leader behavior because all the rest of it goes into follower behavior. I believe that people...
So she's trying to, that's interesting too, is that she's trying to like weaponize like her own femininity, her ability to manipulate men, to get men to be leaders instead of followers by framing it this way. And then also claiming that men have all the power. But she's literally like appealing.
So for people who have no power over men, you sure have a lot of power over men's identity and self-worth. You certainly manipulate it enough.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
No. That's basically it. That's her video.
I'm gonna hug Mia.
Okay.
She came over because I was upset. She might also want to bite me, but you know how it is. One or the other. She's either trying to make me feel better, she wants food, or she wants to bite me. It's always a toss up with a cat. Okay, I don't know. I'm done.
I'm done too.
I don't know if I could loathe this woman anymore. And I love how she's fucking doing the little baby face. Who are you being monogamous for?
She's talking to men like they're kindergarten students.
Well,
and
no,
it's infantilizing. It's pedantic. It's not pedantic. I'm sorry. It's
actually, I would say it's a different thing. She is looking like a child in order to play up her vulnerability. But for what? What is that signal? What receiver is that signal trying to get to in men? Like where is that receiver going? Like where's that signal going? That vulnerability, right? Okay, prey does not signal vulnerability to predators. Disgusting. All right. So I'm just going to go into the end. If you want to send us a message, you can do so at any time after the show is over. And it is over. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We will have the monthly fundraiser open at feedthebadger.com/support. Once I get to that, a little bit of complexity. I now have a plugin conflict, which means that Brian isn't able to log in the blog when the fundraiser is live. So go figure. I have contacted the plugin people, but they haven't gotten back to me. So who knows where that's at. Anyway, feedthebadger.com/support to support the show. And if you want to join us in our community, badgernation.online. And if you want to just become a subscriber, feedthebadger.com/subscribe. I'd like to point that out because it's very helpful to have monthly revenue that we don't have to show for, or I guess we do have to show for, but not always. So feedthebadger.com/support. If you want to start up a $5, $10 support option while I'm waiting on getting this fundraiser out. So yeah, that's how you can help us. Be really appreciated because this woman has a million. No, she's like 250,000.
178,000 subscribers.
Yeah, 178,000.
Coming up on 200,000 subs.
200,000 subs for this. For essentially a woman who was like, oh, sex trafficked children, they're getting attention and not me. And she had to yoink that out of their hands. God forbid, right? That she not get attention for her victimhood. And then also shaming men for not caring about women without realizing that if men didn't care about women, they wouldn't be caring about being shamed for not caring about women. There's no logic here. There's just endless complaining. Okay. Brian, do you want to do the things? You have anything last thing to say?
I think I said everything I wanted to say.
Okay.
So I'm good on that. But if you guys want to say something, leave us a comment down below. I got a super chat from Art4s for $50. Thank you, Art4s. Appreciate that.
Come on.
Gives us $50 and says, sorry for the rich bing. You mean the bitching? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know what that means. But thank you. Florida Tourist says, Brian, I want you to fix a blind date with Pearl and I don't have access to Pearl, so but I think I'm gonna meet her finally at the this documentary she wants to do. So there's that. The one that we talked about where Terrence Popp contacted me.
Cool.
But I haven't heard anything yet. I'm gonna call him or message him tomorrow because I think he said they were gonna find out tomorrow. So I'll just set it. But he's probably pretty good about letting me know what's going on.
Yeah, I'll imagine he's.
Yeah. Anyway, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, to the bell for notifications, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about in the show today. You'll find links to all of the sources in the description if you want to look at them yourself, and share the video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.